waitress today is Kim. Leslie's on vacation, so we have Kim today.
Kim's the waitress?
I would like to add this. We're very fortunate to have a very nice meeting place here with very, very able and well-versed attendants to serve our meetings. I was in a restaurant last week over there. These days it's hard to find somebody to work. Right. Very hard. I was in a restaurant last week over across the river, and when the waitress brought my dinner, she had her thumb on my steak. I said, I don't mean to be hard to get along with, but why is your thumb on my steak? She says, because I don't want to drop it again.
Oh, okay, we got the punchline, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Ladies and gentlemen, for those of you who are uninitiated to our rituals and customs, what we'd like to start out with is a short prayer that will be conducted and led by Coco. And then we go into our Optimist creed and the Pledge of Allegiance. Before we do that, we'd like to call upon Kim.
Is there anyone who would like to order before I get out of here? Okay. And then I'm gonna leave you to it. Okay, perfect. I hate stepping in front of the camera, sorry about that.
Well, we have a new guest today here. She's going to be speaking, and her name is Mrs. Wirth. Now tell us all about yourself. What's your full name and where you're from?
Awesome. My name is Claire Wirth. I'm running for United States Congress here in District 4, and I live in Oldham County. I'm grateful to be here today. Thank you for having me as a speaker.
And you'll be speaking today, and I'll be filming you for Travels with Dr. John Stephenson.
Oh, I would love that. Thank you. It's a pleasure meeting you today.
Nice to meet you, too. God bless you. How are you doing today? Good.
God is good.
God is good.
All the time. All the time.
Diet Coke. Mike. Thank you.
Dan told me to say that. That's what she told me. I know, thank God. Thank you for this beautiful day. Heavenly Father, we come to you today asking for your guidance, wisdom, and support as we begin this meeting. Help us to engage in meaningful discussion, allow us to grow closer as a group, and nurture the bonds of community. Again, thank you for our many blessings.
Amen. Praise the Lord.
Promise yourself to be strong.
And nothing can disturb your peace of mind. Talk health, happiness, and prosperity. You mean, friends feel there is something in the sunny side of everything. Make your optimism. To come way of the best, to work only for the best, and to expect only the best. To be just as enthusiastic with that success as others as you are about your own. Forget about the mistakes of the past and pursue the greater achievements in the future. To work cheerful countenance at all times and give every living creature you meet a smile. Give so much time to the improvement of yourself. You have no time to criticize others. To be too large for worry, too low for anger, too strong for fear, and too happy to permit the presence of trouble.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America
And to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
It's just volume. Are we all set to go? It is Brian, isn't it? Very good. I had trouble remembering with the mask on. Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Denny Sheldon, and I'm on the board of the Optimist Club. And I'd like to greet everyone here. We meet on Wednesdays at 12 noon here at PeeWee's at 2325 Anderson Road in Crescent Springs. For our TBNK viewers, this is Wednesday, April 27th. Primary candidate speaker series is video and rebroadcast on Spectrum Channel 203 Cincinnati Bell, 8:15. Thursdays at 8 p.m. Posted on TBNK On Demand, TBNK Facebook, and Optimists Facebook, available on TBNK's Roku and on TBNK's To Go, TBNK To Go. There's enough places to watch this. It's all over the place. Today's speaker will be Claire Wirth, candidate for the U.S. Congressional 4th District. We will have 3 speakers altogether. We have Savannah that has showed up today and is going to jot down on a card, how can I introduce her? Good. And we will begin with Claire Wirth. So, Claire, please come up here and enlighten us with your message.
Sorry.
That's not your fault, that's mine.
Making sure. Well, thank you for having me here today. I'm so grateful for this opportunity. You know, I'm so excited that in this election cycle, we are seeing so many candidates step forward. Liberty-minded, real Republicans are stepping forward because we are sick and tired of what is going on. You know, the best and worst thing about COVID was, obviously the worst thing was being locked up for so long and having this illness. But the best thing was that we were able to see what was going on in our children's schools. We were able to see that our children were being indoctrinated. I am a mother of 5, and I was profoundly angry about what my children were learning in public schools. So I am one of those moms who was at school board meetings, extremely angry, rallying up with other mothers. And when us mothers got together, what can women not do when we get together, right? What can we not do? So we got together, and these moms, and we started picking offices, starting to really see what is going on. And I've always been a conservative activist. Since the time I was in high school, I was going to DC for March for Life. I served alongside Sheriff Joe Arpaio, even in very scary times. When Sheriff Joe started questioning Obama's birth certificate, I was there. And that was a very scary time when you go up against establishment. But when you are fighting for what's right, it is never scary. It is the right thing to do. I probably got this spirit from my parents, who are both Navy corpsmen, you know, who are very fearless, going to battle, and we had 5 children in our family, and, you know, still understand the duty that we're all called to do. We're called to be Americans. We're called to fight for our country and stand up when times are difficult. And even when you feel like the challenge is insurmountable, going up against a career politician is difficult. Climbing this mountain is hard. But when you're doing the right thing for the right reasons, you know that God is going to bless that, and it's going to be ordained. You know, I feel that when we had the majority in the House, in the Senate, and the presidency, we squandered that opportunity as Republicans. We did not secure our southern border, and now we have a Democrat president and a Democrat majority, and look around what's going on. We have runaway inflation. We're looking at a $30 trillion debt, and every day seems to get worse and worse and harder on the American people. So from coast to coast, you're seeing America First patriots stand up and call out what is really going on. We have 200,000 illegal immigrants coming over our southern border each and every month, and that number is about to double. Conveniently, right before primaries, that number is about to double. And what's coming along with it is fentanyl. Fentanyl is manufactured in China and it ran over our southern border. And in Kentucky, 75% of the overdoses here are related to fentanyl. Everybody knows somebody who's affected by drugs. Everybody. We are all border states. And I've been to the border, and I can tell you, I don't scare easily, but I was terrified at the border. I was completely terrified. Our Border Patrol talked to them. Their staff has been cut back by half. And would you believe that in District 4, where we are all at, the 4th District, we are the 3rd most Republican district in the nation. Very proud of that. And Our congressman voted no on the border 3 times. To me, this is completely unacceptable when you really see the crisis that's happening at the border, how we are being affected. I adopted a little girl from foster care. She was born dependent on these same drugs that came across our border. And I held her for months as she screamed and as she shook and as she trembled, and she is one of many. She does not stand alone, but she does represent the crisis that we are all facing in America, and it's horrible. We can no longer let this stand. I'm so grateful for every patriot that has stood up and decided that something has got to change. There's no reason that we spend $130 billion a year on illegal immigration. And that's before Joe Biden decided that each immigrant was going to receive a $400,000 paycheck. Meanwhile, we have 200,000 service members who protected our freedoms that are sleeping under bridges. There is no reason for this in the United States of America. I love this country. My family loves this country, and there's nothing I would not do to protect our freedom. I am so grateful for every candidate that stood up and realized what's really going on. We have been lied to by a handful of Republicans that messed up squandered the opportunity that we had in the majority. We always hear this term rhino, right? Republican in name only. And we can really see who those people are now. Those people who turned their backs on us when we needed them most. Those are the Trojan horses of the Republican Party. And we will never, ever accept it. I'm so grateful for each and every one of you that came here today. We cannot forget that we have to vote on May 17th. It is our duty and privilege to be able to vote, and each and every one of us needs to be doing that. So thank you so much. Enjoy your day. And if you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
Yes, Claire, if you get a few minutes left to answer any questions.
Oh, perfect. Yes.
Any questions?
I have a question.
Yes.
Okay, running, in regards to your decision to run for Congress, if you were elected, besides, we know your stance on these positions here, the wall and the taxes and all that. If you were elected, where would your focus be, or what type of bill or legislation do you see yourself
Getting behind.
putting forth?
Right? I think anything.
Where's your leadership? What bill would you like to see or put forth that you believe the current congressman is not fulfilling?
One of those would be national.
What can you add? What value can you add that is not being added now?
Absolutely. So I do want to mention that. So I've started a group called Arms Advocate. That is an advocacy group that's protecting our Second Amendment rights and liberties. And it's grown to 64,000 members strong. And one of the things that I want to work on is national reciprocity. Because I believe that no matter where you are in the United States of America, your Second Amendment freedom is a God-given right that can never be taken away from you. And when people say, oh no, that's a state's rights, we have to remember, it is enumerated. So if you can take away that and say it's a state right, then you can also limit your First Amendment freedom, and that can be justified by each state, whatever they see fit on how to limit that. I believe a Second Amendment right is your God-given freedom, and every single American is entitled to that freedom. So that is something I would love to get behind, love to see that pass. I would love to get behind election integrity and see something happen there. I would love to get rid of Dominion. I want all the voting machines gone. I believe we need to go back to paper ballots. I think that's something we need to get behind and advocate for. I want to get rid of abortion, obviously. That's a huge one. I've always been pro-life.
Answered my question.
Oh, sorry.
That answered my question.
Oh, I'm huge into the pro-life movement. That was probably my jumping off point in high school, into the Republican Party. I've always been a Republican. And so that was my tipping off point. And I really want to, do something great, and I want to see abortion ended. Yes, sir.
We've seen a lot of things the government spending money on, like safe drug kits and different things like that. Is there anything that can be done along the Second Amendment lines to help lower income folks get good gun safes to help from a safety standpoint.
I mean, I think that's something that can be looked into for sure. Should always practice gun safety, as long as it doesn't infringe upon our rights, which I don't think it does. I think we should always be practicing that. So, I mean, that's definitely something that we should be looking into.
Well, my wife and I are both retired, and we're living on a locked income. And healthcare is a big problem.
Right?
My wife has gotta have her knees worked on, and I'm not hollering or crying or anything like that, but I have another person that goes to our church who don't pay anything for the same service as she wants to get, but we have to pay money out of pocket. Now, how do you wanna deal with that issue, and how you wanna fix that issue?
I mean, that is a huge issue. I'm gonna have to look more into that, but you're not the only person that's come to me, saying how unfair that is. There's people that take advantage of the system, and it feels as though as hard work is disincentivized, that we punish people who work hard, and then people who don't work hard are given a free pass. And that's not what America was built on, and I don't believe in that. So, we need to do something about that. And it's extremely unfair.
Any other questions?
Back to you.
Way back in the back.
One way back in the back.
I'm sorry, I'm a visitor here. I'm from Boone County, and I've been blessed with 7 brothers who served in the military. One of whom is 100% service related, disabled. Recently, he received a flyer from the VFW in regards to HR 6823, I believe it is. It's the Elizabeth Dole. It's still in Congress. So I wanted to review and see basically what your opponent, how he felt about that. And I couldn't find anything. The only thing I did find was a bill that he had passed for pause for veterans. It's providing puppies to veterans, which kind of reminded me of Obama giving Ukraine blankets.
Yeah.
What is your stance?
So when I was a child, we lived off of my dad's disability. He was 100% disabled from the VA. So I understand fully, I think, just being a child of a veteran, how we need to support our veterans and their families, because it's not just them who sacrifices, the entire family that sacrifices without a doubt. So, I am concerned that our congressman has never voted for a single increase for our service members. It's very bothersome to me. So that's something that will change when I'm in office.
Beautiful. Thank you.
Well, thank you for coming to join us.
This will be like a whole new day, like you've been looking like one after another that they're here. It'll be just like they were here on a different day. That's the way TBNK has asked us to do it.
Okay. Welcome, my Optimist friends. My name is Denny Shelton, and I'm a board member of the Optimist Club of Covington. We meet every Wednesday at 12 noon at PeeWee's Place at 2325 Anderson Road in Crescent Springs. For our TBNK viewers, today is Wednesday, April 27th. Our primary candidate speaker series is videoed and rebroadcast on Spectrum Channel 20203, Cincinnati Bell 815, Thursdays at 8 p.m. Posted on TBNK On Demand, TBNK Facebook, and Optimist Club Facebook. Available on TBNK Roku channel, Roku channel, and on TBNK to go at www.think.org. Today's speaker will be Savannah Maddox. She represents the 61st House District, which encompasses Grant County and portions of Canton, Boone, and Gallatin counties. Savannah was named Legislator of the Year by the Americans for Prosperity and was recently recognized by the American Conservative Union for having the most impact on conservative voting. record and conservative voting record and in the Kentucky General Assembly. Ladies and gentlemen, please join me in welcoming Savannah.
It is a privilege to be with you all here today. I am Savannah Maddox. I represent the 61st House District, which is a position that I have had the privilege of serving in since 2018 when I was first elected, when folks first put their trust in me to go down to Frankfurt and fight for them. Whenever I first ran for office, like many Republicans, I ran on a platform of being 100% pro-life, 100% pro-Second Amendment, never voting to raise your taxes or for any type of additional regulations or anything that would infringe upon your individual liberties and freedoms. And I feel like I can stand here and confidently say to you today that I have 100% upheld that. In so much as I filed and passed constitutional carry in 2019. I don't know if you all are familiar with that, but that is a landmark success in the Commonwealth here to expand the ability of Kentuckians to exercise their Second Amendment rights. Kentucky became the 15th state to be a constitutional carry state, but you know, nothing could have prepared me when I first ran for office for what we have seen over the course of the past 2 years in terms of the government reach. If anything good can come out of what we've experienced in terms of COVID, it's the fact that I feel like citizens' eyes are open to the true cost of government overreach. Now, we will never forget what it felt like back in March of 2020, whenever our governor was shutting down businesses and churches and schools, removing our ability to earn a wage, only to not make good on the other end of it with unemployment. In the legislature, we dealt with that time and time again, folks who weren't receiving a wage in exchange for having had the entire economy shut down. We won't forget what it was like for the Kentucky State Police to have been tasked with writing down the license plates of churchgoers on Easter Sunday. But what I think sets me apart from other Republicans in the General Assembly, which may be a few exceptions, is the fact that 9 days after Andy Beshear's first executive order shutting our state down was issued, I filed an amendment that would have reined in his executive powers, because I do not believe it is the appropriate role of government to shut down the economy, to force you to wear a mask, to force you to receive a vaccine, or to force your children to learn remotely from a laptop, in many cases at the top of a hill if you're in a rural area and don't have broadband. So many of the economic problems that we continue to deal with can all be traced back to that moment in time whenever the whole world was shut down. Not just our economic problems, but frankly, a lot of the election-related issues and the confidence level that has been denigrated in our elections all traces back to the mail-in voting that had run rampant across the nation. But you know, I believe that leaders lead from the front, and they lead in a way that they are not going to cave to special interests. They're not going to cave to lobbyists, and I think that doing the right thing is something that we must do even when it's not popular and even when it's not politically expedient. And I think that as we're making our selections, whether it's a state representative race, whether it's a congressional race, or, you know, in 2023, a gubernatorial race, we have to identify the people who will stand firm in representing our values even when the going gets tough. You know, I am fortunate to live in the 4th Congressional District, where I have a congressman that also said no. No, Congressman, we're not going to sit at home and allow the largest spending bill in our nation's history, trillions of dollars, be passed on unanimous consent without a recorded vote. He had the courage to become the most hated man in this nation for a time because he thought it was the right thing to do. Folks, those are the kinds of men and women that you want representing you, whether it's in Frankfurt, whether it's in Washington, whether it's in the governor's mansion. People who are willing to look at the problem and develop a solution. And let me tell you about Kentucky's biggest problem. Kentucky's biggest problem right now is our workforce participation rate. You want to talk about a crisis? There's your crisis. 53.8% workforce participation among able-bodied adults. Now, I'm a Christian. I believe in helping people who need it. But what I don't believe in is paying people who could work to sit at home and not work. That's not the right thing to do. If we want to grow, if we want to get this Commonwealth back on the path of prosperity, we have to be serious and firm about substantive reform to Medicaid programs and social assistance programs. Frankly, that ensures that those programs are solvent for the people who really do need them. And as far as the legislative process, whether you're talking about in Frankfurt or in Washington, D.C., I do see a lot of similarities. Many of you all may be aware that I fought fiercely for House Bill 28, which would have removed the government's ability to mandate a vaccine, passed out of the House, died in the Senate. Folks, I'm not going to make any bones about the fact that I believe that we need to elect authentic Republicans who will abide by the will of people and pass legislation like that. Mississippi just did 4 days ago. There is no reason in the Commonwealth of Kentucky, with a supermajority out of 105 out of 138, that we couldn't have got that done. But it comes down to again, sticking to your guns, standing firm on principle, and not yielding. Because we can be, here in the Commonwealth, a beacon of conservative values for the entire nation if we are willing to fight for our constitutional rights and liberties, if we are willing to say no to mandates. And I'm not just talking about COVID mandates, I'm talking about in general. The size and scale of government has just multiplied and multiplied. We've got to get it back under control and restore the consent of the governed. We have to protect our individual liberties and freedom. First Amendment, Second Amendment, and we have to protect unborn life. I want to close with this. It's very important. I know we're just in April right now, but come November, there's going to be a constitutional amendment to protect unborn life. I would like to put that out there, and I'm going to be voting for it, obviously, and ask that everybody else take a look at it and vote in favor of it also. I don't know what the format is here, if I have time for questions.
Yes, we have some time for questions.
All right, I'd love to take them.
Any questions for Savannah?
Is there anything more that can be done to improve broadband internet access throughout the state of Kentucky?
Yes, the federal government has been passing out windfalls of dollars that are being utilized for that purpose. And the General Assembly has taken that federal money, ARPA money, and appropriated it for broadband expansion. I anticipate that our infrastructure will improve significantly. Again, it's a function of the fact that I think, we talk about inflation, because right now inflation is just absolutely killing us. Gas prices, everything is just through the roof. That inflation is a direct result of said federal windfall of dollars. You can't just print billions of dollars and then go around and take it back out of the communities. But that said, given that money was appropriated to Kentucky, the General Assembly made use of it in that way. And, they went back and forth and fought about how they were going to spend that windfall. But, given the circumstance, I think that it was a good expenditure of those funds. Anybody else?
I have a question about lobbyists. Do you have any issues with lobbyists wanting to put money in your hand to vote their way? Because if I've looked at the financials of some of our legislators in Kentucky, that they basically do not represent their constituents of their given district, but they do basically do everything that their lobbyist chooses them to do. And some of these lobbyists are actually out of state, they don't even live here.
I haven't had a big problem because lobbyists themselves actually can't give money, but of course they're closely connected with PACs that can. I haven't had a huge issue with that transpiring because I feel like I've developed a reputation where these entities know that they're not going to sway my votes. I mean, you're looking at the lady that voted no on a pregnant workers bill because I'm not going to put a regulation on small businesses. Do you see what I'm saying? But that said, it's a huge problem because I do see, if you look, the Kentucky Chamber of Commerce continues to be the top spender of lobbying dollars in the Kentucky Medical Association, Kentucky Hospital Association. Those were the top three. And then, of course, here in Northern Kentucky, St. Elizabeth was closely tied in with all of that. So I do think that you see that lobbying dollars influence public policy. And that is why I think that it's important that any person that's going to ask for your vote, you need to determine that they are going to represent the people, not the special interests. And if you've got folks that are elected, look at their voting record. Are they doing what they said they would do? Are they being who they said they would be? Or are they being influenced by outside groups? So that's a great question.
Thank you. Thank you.
Sir?
How do you feel about fixing the Obama situation, about handcuffing people who want to work but can't work a lot to keep the Obamacare but not working too much and losing it because of economical situations. How do you feel about fixing that?
Well, at the federal level, I think that Obamacare should have been repealed root and branch like they said they were gonna do. They should have followed through with that, but that said, in the Commonwealth of Kentucky, we've carefully been looking at what's referred to as the benefits cliff. Because you do not want to disincentivize people that have, partial ability to go out and work. We don't want to put them in a situation where they are fearful of losing benefits to where it disincentivizes work. So we've looked at that carefully, because I, for one, am in favor of extending health care coverage. Like, say you get a job. Sometimes it takes some time for your group plan coverage to kick in. And you don't want to lose coverage for that gap period. So I think that there are things that we can do to make sure that folks are able to get back into the workforce to the extent that they're able without falling off that cliff and just getting pulled into the undertow subsidies.
I think you're just.
I have a question.
Do we have any more questions?
Yes. I heard in the news recently that the bill for scholarship for people who had, were in prison, that Governor Bashir vetoed it. Could you tell me more about that, why he vetoed it? I wasn't really clear on that.
I'm actually not certain. We overrode so many of Bashir's vetoes in the last 2 days of session that without looking it up, I couldn't give you the specifics of the veto message. Generally speaking, I do know that A.D. Bashir usually never stands in the way of anything that is going to spend money or increase the government's role in our lives, but I couldn't speak specifically to that piece of legislation without looking at it.
Well, I know he was saying, well, if this goes through, then that limits other opportunities for scholarships or for them to get. But in the news report that I saw, said, because I mentioned they interviewed this woman who graduated on her own, she had a tough time finding those opportunities. So it kind of contradicted the anchor or the news person contradicted what the purpose of the bill was. So if there aren't any opportunities out there and this bill gives them that opportunity, see what I'm saying? I don't understand what his problem was.
I'll have to take a look at it and let you know, but like I said, there was just so much in the last 2 days. I think we got one more question.
I'm sorry. I actually have several. I don't know where to go with this, because I am kind of looking at your voting record. I have 2 of them that I'm concerned with. Number one, my daughter's father, yes, we're divorced, but we're still friends. Lost a business during COVID. And back on, sorry, I have to use these. HB1, you had voted no about opening up the economy. The second question is in regards to Bill 121. Of course, I have children in the school district.
Sure.
And limiting the time the parents in talking at school boards or something, you know what I'm
Yeah,
talking about?
no, I can tell you right now about the school board bill, 15 minutes is not a sufficient amount of time.
Okay, that's what I needed to know.
There's absolutely no way. I'm 100% in favor of forcing
Thank
school
you.
districts to provide public comment. It's just a function of, imagine you've got an issue so fractious as the mask mandate. 7.5 minutes per side? You wanna start a riot? That's a good way to start a riot. They
Exactly.
should not be restricting the taxpayer's ability to speak. And on House Bill 1, I'd have to look at it. I would say that in all likelihood, you get these nice
Beginning.
titles to
Yeah.
bills. There was probably an increase in spending, or else there was probably something that was extending emergency powers. I'd have to look at it more closely, but I've taken up too much time as it is. Thank you all so very much.
We'll take a short break for lunch, and we will come back.
This is on agenda next.
I'll turn it on here. It's running video. Now all you have to push down, see that little tiny camera there? You just push that a couple of times.
A couple of times.
It's already on.
Okay. If I mess this up, oh my goodness.
I'll leave.
Here we go. Very cute.
Thank you.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. Take care. See you later. Take care now. Now, you want to take one of her and I?
Oh, that would be great.
Now, hang on just a second.
Where's that homeless shelter at?
All you have to do is there's a little tiny camera there. Do you see the little camera?
I sure do.
You just, you don't have to push it hard, just touch it 2 or 3 times so it flashes and we'll have a picture.
Let's make that your official title. That way, if you want to go into comedy, you can say, yes, I've been doing it for the Optimists.
Is that your card, sir, right there?
I have one.
You have one? So what we'll do is, I'll call you and text you and tell you who I am, Diana Starr, and you can send us that picture so we can have that picture.
That's
Oh,
awesome.
okay.
Put my old Kentucky home underneath.
Oh my gosh, I know.
sorry.
I know. His voice is incredible.
It is very important.
You know, you did such a great version of that.
In just a moment, we'll resume our taping. We have one more speaker. And to introduce our speaker,
Okay, thank you.
I will introduce our president, Miss Janine Bell Smith.
I do have a little face club over here.
Usually a black white person.
I don't see the red light, Brian. Are we good? Okay. I say welcome by Optimist friends. I'm Janine Bell Smith, president of the Optimist Club of Covington. We meet every Wednesday, 12 noon, PeeWee's Place, 2325 Anderson Road, Crescent Springs. For our TV and K viewers, today is Wednesday, April the 27th. Our primary candidate speaker series is videoed and rebroadcast on Spectrum Channel 203, Cincinnati Valley 8:15, Thursdays at 8 p.m. It's also posted on TVNK On Demand, TVNK Facebook, and the Optimist Facebook. And it's also available on Roku channels and also TVK On The Go. Today, our speaker will be vying for on the Kentucky primary ballot for May 17th as a candidate for the newly established Kentucky State Senate District 20. My honor, my pleasure to introduce Phyllis Sparks, candidate for the Kentucky State Senator 20th District. Let us give Phyllis an optimistic welcome for stepping up to the challenge.
Thank you. That was very nice. Thank you for the invitation, and it's really nice to be back here at PeeWee's. My name is Phyllis Sparks, and I'm a candidate for the newly drawn district, Senate District 20. I'd like to talk about that district because it is new. As you know, after every 2 years we do a census, and when that data is collected, they have to redraw the lines to better represent the population within those districts. So Senate District 20 was drawn, and it covers about 6 counties, so it's very large. It's almost like a mini congressional race. It starts with the southwestern part of Kenton County, the southern part of Boone County, where I live, Gallatin County, Carroll County, Owen County, and Franklin County. Franklin County is where our state capital is in Frankfort. So that's a lot of ground to cover. It's a very rural area, a lot of farmers, a lot of small business owners like myself. And it's been an interesting last few months getting out and meeting all the folks and covering this ground. It takes me about an hour and 15 minutes to get from my house to the other end of Franklin County. So there's a lot of land in between there, that's for sure. People ask me, why did you get in this race? Well, first let me tell you a little bit about me, and I think you'll understand why I got in this race. First of all, I'm a small business owner. My husband and I, of 40 years, started a business 35 years ago. We are in the heavy industrial crane and rigging business, excuse me. We build mining equipment, rock quarries, even surface mining and coal, and river offloading facilities. These are large plants with conveyor systems and rock crushers and drag lines and shovels and various types of heavy, large equipment. So we have large cranes, heavy haul trucks, and a crew of men that will either take down a plant, will transport it, and they put it back up in a new site where they want to start digging. Or we install new equipment wherever they're building or replacing. their worn equipment. So this is what we've been doing for 35 years. It's been very successful. We have 3 adult children, and I became a grandmother for the very first time just 2 months ago. He's absolutely adorable, and I've always heard what a joy it is to be a grandparent, and now I finally get to experience it, and he's just an absolute doll. But 2 of my children work for our company, and they are heavily involved in the daily operations, and we're very proud to have them on our team. Along the way, about 20 years ago, when my children were in public education, I saw some areas of need. I've served many different positions. I've served 9 years on site-based decision-making councils between Walton Verona schools and Boone County schools. I have worked at every level and directly with our local school board. I'm a graduate of the Commonwealth Institute for Parent Leadership. This is a program that takes parents such as myself who want to be heavily involved in public education and gives you weeks and weeks of training to understand every aspect of education and understand acronyms. Because if anyone's ever been to a school board meeting, they want to speak in acronyms, which is like a foreign language. So I think I'm the only candidate in this race who can actually accomplish that deed. So I became an advocate for students with learning disabilities. I noticed about 20% of our student population were being sidelined. These are bright children with normal intelligence, but just learn differently. But we weren't giving them the proper instruction that they needed, and that's still going on today. When you look at our high school students, and we've sidelined them, and we raised the dropout age from 16 to 18, we actually took those kids and chained them to a desk and held them hostage for 2 years because they're not engaged. There were 0 programs put in place at that time to help these children to become more engaged and to become independent and successful in life after graduation. Well, this is what I want to work on. I am a big proponent for vocational school programs. We don't have enough of them, and we need to expand that. I've been working with Dr. Randy Poe, who is on the state school board and former superintendent of Boone County Schools, and he took me on a tour of this wonderful school here in northern Kentucky called Ignite Institute. Ignite is exactly what we need for our high school students, because it has a vocational component, but also it's full day, and students get their math and their English and everything, their basics, but they also go directly into vocational training, whether it be computer science or healthcare or machinists. They have so many different things, but what it needs, because it needs more funding and obviously more opportunity, is to expand those pathways, those career pathways, because children want to be engaged in so much today. And so once we can do that, it'll be great. He currently has a waiting list of 500 students to get into this program. This is how popular it is. But also what is very interesting is it took him 5 years to get the program. All the red tape, the bureaucracy, and the waivers in which he had to apply for to build, essentially, is a charter school. Now this is interesting, a public school charter school. Who would have thought? Now this is why I support charter schools, because it makes our public schools better, and this is a prime example of how we can be better. Put in the competition and public schools will step up to the plate. I'm a true advocate for school choice. I am also an advocate for our public schools at the very same time, because we need them both. But as an advocate for children with learning disabilities, I started a nonprofit organization in Kentucky called the Kentucky Branch of the International Dyslexia Association. My expertise is in the area of reading disabilities, such as dyslexia. And along the way, and with my work with the Trump administration, I was able to get a one-on-one roundtable meeting with Secretary Betsy DeVos, the Secretary of Education, U.S. Secretary of Education. There were 12 advocates across the nation who were invited to this meeting, and I happened to be one of them. This is the first time a Secretary of Education has ever taken up that topic at a roundtable discussion, face to face. I was honored to be there. I was truly honored to be there. Speaking about the Trump administration, I was on his statewide campaign committee to elect Donald J. Trump. This is an official committee by the Republican Party of Kentucky and by Donald Trump himself. And I worked on this in northern Kentucky. Thank goodness Kentucky was so large in supporting Donald Trump that a lot of my work actually went across the river to get Ohio, which is a swing state, on board with Donald Trump, and we did. So I'm very proud of that work as well. Another interesting experience that I've had is I served on an advisory panel for the Eastern Cincinnati Bypass. I worked with a lot of good folks here in northern Kentucky to design a plan to alleviate the traffic and divert the trucks and the through cars around Cincinnati. We would start in Grant County, go around through Campbell County, across the river, and would rejoin 71 and 75 north of Dayton and Columbus. Now, as we worked really hard on that project is not going to come through because Ohio wouldn't buy into the idea. But while we were working on that and pushing that very hard with the right hand, the left hand was saying, if you're going to build a companion bridge for the Brent Spence Bridge, it had to be without tolls. And it had to be a smaller design than what they originally came up with. The original plan for the companion bridge across the river from Cincinnati into Kentucky would have put 8 southbound lanes into the cut of the hill.
Wow.
Exactly. It was never going to work. It was a failed plan from the beginning, and they were going to tax you, put a toll on it to have just another boondoggle. So we pushed hard against the lobbyists who wanted the tolls. We pushed hard against the lobbyists who wanted that larger project. And we were still pushing for the Eastern Cincinnati Bypass. So I feel like it is a huge victory that we did get a smaller scale project. It looks like that is coming our way. It looks like there is an agreement between Kentucky and Ohio on this project. And it will be built without tolls. So I find that to be a huge victory, and I'm so glad to be a part of that.
Amen.
So yeah, it took my expertise. I'm not an expert on it, but I certainly, worked on it very hard. I was very passionate about my work. This is the same type of experience I want to bring in as your next state senator. We want to look at the I-71-75 corridor. We want to look at I-71 going through the rural counties of Boone, Gallatin, and Carroll County, and what we can do to maybe widen those lanes, add another lane. Because every time there's a shutdown on the I-71-75 corridor, it backs up down through those small counties. Those large trucks divert and go through Carrollton, they go through Warsaw, they go through Blanco, they go through all these smaller counties, and the wear and tear that it puts on these and the burden and how it impacts their businesses is just too much for these little towns to handle. We want to be able to bring more economic development into those areas as well. And I think that this is a plan that would work. So I want to work on the education part of this. I want to put more children into vocational training that normally would just fall off into nothing. Sitting home, doing nothing without the skills necessary to be productive, independent, and successful. We have a labor shortage in this country, and it certainly impacts Kentucky at a large case. We don't have the skills that we need to get just the smallest thing done sometimes. I had to hire a plumber for a property that I own in Covington. I had to call 3 plumbers. They don't have help. Your AC, air conditioning, there's no help there. Welders, truck drivers, there's no help there. I know in my experience in my field, crane operators and truck drivers are not in business anymore. So I want to work on that, continue that, and make that a priority. Let's stop putting students into 4-year universities and strapping them with $100,000 of debt. Let's go right out of training and right into an occupation that not only helps them, but it helps our society.
Amen.
Taxpayers, tax revenue,
Amen.
workers, there's value in hard work. My husband and I started our own business when we were 27 years old. We were newly married, we had no idea where we were gonna find this money, but he was determined that this is what we were going to do. We took out a loan, he bought a truck and bought a welder, and he said, I'm going after it. And I was like, well, how are we gonna pay for this? It was scary, but the type of work we do was hard. It's hard in the coal mines, and that's where he works. It's hard in the limestone mines in Gallatin County. That's hard work. It's hard work at Nucor and at every sand and rock quarry in the Ohio Valley. This is hard work. But we've been doing it for 35 years, and there's value in hard work. And I want everyone to experience that if they have the desire to do so. Thank you very much. I appreciate your time.
Amen.
Any questions?
Of course.
Yes, sir.
275. A big circle around greater Northern,
Yes.
Cincinnati, whatever. How come people can't get to their head that they save money by driving around on the interstate than going through the town? If you go through downtown Cincinnati and come up Death Hill and do all that, you're burning more gas, taking more time than if you go around. That's been my life experience. Now, tell me if I'm wrong and why people won't do it.
Well, are you talking about people or
Trucks,
truckers?
whoever.
Anything. Okay.
Yeah.
I-275 is not a true bypass. It is a circle, but it benefits Ohio more than it does Kentucky. From 275 to the Brent Spence Bridge is probably less than, 4 miles? It's not very far. So for them to be diverted around 275 and go far east and join back in into the Sharonville area, that's actually a pretty far drive.
Yeah, it is. It's 80 miles.
Yeah, so it's pretty far. So now here's where we went wrong on I-275. Look what happened on the Ohio side. They took a big swipe, a big loop. And when that was built, 40 years ago, that was undeveloped land. And the economic development that they benefited from I-275 in Ohio was grand. But when 275 came through Kentucky, it went to hit the airport, and it really had no other purpose except cut through every mountainscape that we had in northern Kentucky. Undeveloped land that could not be developed. It was just too difficult. We didn't benefit from that. If Kentucky could take a larger swipe south of 275, there's a lot of land there that could have been developed and we could have benefited greatly from. This was just not a good buy-in for Kentucky at that time.
To add to that, we have friends that live in Independence, and they're totally against going south because they said it's gonna bring hotels, and it's gonna bring this and that, and they don't want that, so.
In Independence?
Yeah.
The project that I worked on is going to start in the Grant County area, and I would have completely gone around Independence. I don't think that it would have impacted very
Well, then I'll
much.
have to tell them that.
Yeah.
Can you tell me where the decision came from? It came as something of a surprise to me. I didn't know until a couple weeks more it was gonna happen. It was to close the 4th and 12th Street entrance to 75 North.
Okay, that is called the Texas turnaround.
Why? No, did anybody complain about that being a problem?
No, actually, it's a very, very good project. I would call it a mastermind, and let me explain why. The Fifth Street had a dedicated lane on the bridge. When you got on going north, you had your own lane into that bridge. And the traffic changes that were occurring on the bridge was causing the backup. It was always the approach and the bridge of everyone having to change lanes. Why did Fifth Street have a dedicated lane? Now let's remove that entrance ramp to the bridge from Fifth Street. Let's take people under the bridge, send them south to 12th Street, come back under the bridge and enter the interstate going north from that point. Absolutely. Now no one is changing lanes. Now no one is causing accidents. Now there's no more slowdowns on the bridge, and that increases the traffic flow.
I like the Fifth Street getting on, no, I would not be for that.
It's already
No.
been done.
No.
But
It's already being done, sir.
but the entrance, the new entrance from Dixie Highway, Pike Street, whatever you wanna call it, is closed. I was just down there today.
Yeah.
But the Fifth Street is still open.
No, it's not.
I just took it yesterday, so it's to them, it's open.
Fourth Street, the Fourth Street.
From Fourth Street getting on the interstate bridge is still open.
Yeah, the Fourth Street entrance.
Yes.
Yeah.
It is?
Yes.
It is temporarily, and it will remain open for ambulances only, but it will not be for traffic. You'll have to take I'm sorry you don't like it, but it's going to save lives. Okay, anybody else have anything?
I have a question about, I'm a friend of coal, and it sounds like you are too, that's COAL. And I'm very concerned about the Public Service Commission, Duke Energy, continually raising our rates. And I feel like as a ratepayer, my voice has been silent. And I took it upon myself a few years back to make a difference. And I do believe we went from 17.2%, and Darren and I went down to Public Service Commission. We were able to talk to the Secretary of Secretary of Energy, and we actually went down, we were able to speak, and it's all documented, you can bring it up, that we actually went from 17.5 to 3.2%. So my question here is, when you people let your voices be heard and you take a stand, it will be addressed. To go along, to get along is not working.
No, it is not. I agree with you there wholeheartedly. Yeah, I haven't taken as close a look at that as you have, but it's certainly out there, and there are many reasons to take a closer look at that. I don't know why we don't have the representation that we need from them, certainly. Anybody else? Hi.
Well, so I saw a Facebook meme where a young 18 to 24-year-old can get $100,000 in student loans, but can't get a $10,000 business loan. Is there anything that can be done to help some of these kids that are going into the trades like you talked about? That can, kind of be the equivalent of a student loan, but will, help them not just pay for their education in the trade, but maybe help them with some of the equipment, or if they want to start their own business.
Well, I think you nailed it, and it says everything that we need to know what's currently wrong with getting young students or young people into the workforce. When you can be strapped with $100,000 in debt for a student loan, but at 18 you can't get a business loan. This is something that I'm proposing along with my vocational trade expansion that I want in our public schools. That what comes along with that is financial literacy. These kids don't even know what a FICO score is. I want to be able to put in place entrepreneurial business skills, because what I'm seeing in the district that I'm running in the rural areas, that these kids are getting their education and they're leaving. If we can help these kids become entrepreneurs and give them the financial assistance that they need to be that entrepreneur, the likelihood of them staying within their own area and building their business is pretty high. But they're having to leave to go and find things that they need. And I want to try to make that easier for everyone. But I know exactly what you're talking about, and I've been thinking about it for a long time. I'm going to try harder to get that in an elevator speech. But financial literacy and entrepreneurial training has to go along with the vocational training.
Because some of these kids, even if they get their, like carpentry or electrical training paid for, some companies require them to bring their own tools, and especially if they want to start their own business and go on their own. And I come from a family where I've got two brothers that were successful in the trade business.
With what Ignite Institute is doing, and Dr. Randy Poe, they are slowly working into that to get those sponsorships in place, that when that student leaves the carpentry training, he will have his own set of tools, and because of the sponsorships from the local community. And that's what's key, is that there's a buy-in from our local community on this. here's an added piece to that I found was very interesting. Being a business owner in the construction trade, these kids don't leave that school without having full OSHA training and certifications. That is amazing, because that's also another hurdle for that student when they're out trying to get that job. If they don't have the proper training, whether it be in OSHA or MSHA, and they're not certified in the trade in which they are actually working in, they're not gonna get picked up as easily. Trust me, I know that. I know, because we look for help in our business for people who've already had that training and the certifications needed, because it lifts a burden from the employer, and we can put them to work on day one.
I'm glad to see you mentioned the financial part of it.
Oh,
because
absolutely, yeah.
A lot of these, especially young tradespeople, they're really good at their job, but they don't have the ability to manage the financial part of it.
You're absolutely
And
correct.
anticipate replacing equipment.
You know, and I can't say I knew that 35 years ago. I mean, it was trial and error. I was like trying to figure this out. How do we actually run a business? What are all the licenses that I need? You know, all these things, and it was hard, but you know, we did it. If I can help just one student follow that path and be an entrepreneur and be successful in life, then I feel like I've really done something in life.
You know, now I'm gonna bring out the Optimists Club. Before COVID, we actually had a tour of Ignite, and we went to one of their programs, and there were superintendents from all over the state of Kentucky. And we went through all of the equipment that they have for these children to work on. I would like to go to Ignite myself.
Yes.
It is an excellent school, and what I did notice too, and I'm a teacher of 30 years, yes, you did not know that maybe, and when we were going around, I was looking in, there were children though there that were learning basic skills of math, English, and whatever. And so I feel like putting that together in that location with all the other expanded information and tools they could work with, because if you don't have the basics, then you don't know how to speak, or you don't know how to write a sentence, it's going to be very difficult to proceed in the business of anything.
It is. It is. That's what I like about it too. But you know, a lot of our kids, by the time they reach the high school level and they can go into a program like Ignite, they're already years behind on other issues because we never met their needs. We never put in place a program that they needed to be successful. That is something that I've been working on for over 20 years. I'm all about trying to meet this kid where they are. Let's give them the instruction that matches their learning style, and they can be successful. So, you know, I'm excited. I love talking about that. Yes?
I want to compliment both you and Mrs. Wirth for your interest in the vocational side of education. And I spoke yesterday with 2,000 retired teachers down in Louisville. And one of the things I pointed out was that about the site-based decision-making councils and how they'd had a positive effect in many ways of getting across parent involvement. We need more parent involvement in schools. And I think that's important. And the vocational schools are very important, as you say. In fact, I'm meeting tomorrow with the superintendent in Boone County schools and to talk about string instruments, music in the schools.
I am the only candidate in this race that has a personal working relationship with our public schools. I'm the only candidate.
Yeah.
I'm the only candidate in this race who can work with Representative Sal Santoro, who is the chairman of the Transportation Subcommittee. I'm the only one that can do that. So I have these relationships already built. I can go in day one and start talking to the people that I know and that I have a relationship with to bring the issues forward that impact this district.
Well, I appreciate that knowledge and that.
Now, on site-based decision-making councils, in Senate Bill 1 that was just recently passed, involved in that was Senator John Schickel's bill that he's worked on forever. It was to eliminate some of the responsibilities from SBDM councils and put it back on your local school board and elected school board officials. And I wholeheartedly support that bill. But I would have taken it a little bit further, because schools individual schools and their site-based decision-making councils determine the curriculum in that school. They determine the hiring of the teacher and the hiring of the principal. I want to see that put back onto our local school boards, where elected school board members that not just a parent can vote for, but every citizen in that district has a vote on whether or not that school board member should remain or should go.
Absolutely, absolutely.
I love it, I love it.
One thing I would like to note, we had 3 women talking today.
Yes,
Looking at representing us in the political realm. And I like seeing that, and I hope you all continue to encourage and those who are in the business groom younger women to come up behind you, because we do need more women in the system. They bring different perspectives, and I really like seeing that. So thank you all, and keep it up.
Thank you.
This is my first time I'm seeing you.
I didn't want to say it on camera. I just supposed to.
That's what's happening. Exactly. God is
Thank you for your question, sir.
Yeah, hang on just a second. You mind taking a picture of her and I together?
I would love to take a picture of you and her.
Now do you see what you've touched? It's a little tiny camera. Just a little.
That little baby right
bit,
there.
Just touch it a couple of times.
Okay. Well, yeah, squat down a little bit. Beautiful. Oh my gosh. You're such a handsome fella.
You make me look good.
You talk about Simon Kenton. Yesterday I celebrated my grandson's 18th birthday. He's graduating from Simon Kenton.
Oh, is that right? Well, I graduated there in
I have to brag on
1961.
He was
Fantastic.
in the Governor's Scholarship Program.
Okay, what's his name?
Landon Tomlin.
Well, God bless him.
He is graduating from NKU with an associate degree on May 7th.
Wonderful.
And graduating from Simon Kenton June 3rd.
Fantastic.
And he's going to
Fantastic.
University of Louisville.
Well, tell him I said congratulations.
But that kid.
And that's the guy I wanted you to give it to, but that's okay.
Oh, I gave it to that guy too. Who you want me to give it to?
Gotcha.
I'm a nobody, you know that.
No, you're somebody to me.
Yeah.
Visitors, and actually was with her for 5 days before they discharged her, so I was up there 12 hours a day.
My dad, we bought our own pharmacy, and I didn't realize the value of it.
Okay.
When I actually went
Okay, now I'm gonna send it to you. She sent it to me and I'll send it to you. And then you'll have it better. Let's see, okay. Now, give me your phone number.
859
Wait a minute, okay.
859
859,
750
Got a PhD in physics.
750,
00
Air Force.
00.
00.
So that's where I started.
Okay.
Oh my gosh, I love it. Thank you for having me
Well,
here.
thank you.
I'll be back soon, hopefully, and we go to your next meeting.
Kim, the 11th, I gotta figure out, we can't do anything because it's because of the election.
I just happened to be here in Florence, Kentucky today and visited with the superintendent of schools out here in Boone County about a project, and I happened to run into 2 fellas here that helped me check the car out for Miss June tomorrow, be driving it, and ran into one of my old friends, Bill Bishop. Now, Bill, tell us what you're doing and how you're doing here. What's the name of the company? And
Well, the name of the company's Take 5 Oil Change. I'm an assistant manager. I've been here for 30 years now.
fantastic. And your name, sir, is?
I'm Mike Miller, another ASM. I'm under Bill. Been working here 3 months now.
3 months. Well, folks, they did a great job for helping me out here because I wanted to get my vehicle checked out today since I went to Louisville and that back yesterday with the retired teachers down there. And I thought, I saw these two guys sitting out here and they just looked like two guys that were kind old people. And so I said, can you guys check my oil and tires? And I'd be daggone. They said, certainly, come on in, pull it in, we'll check you out. And they checked me out and everything's okay. That means they're a darn good business.
Yes, sir.
And Bill, how long have we known each other?
40 some odd years.
40 some odd years. I'm still trying to behave myself.
I am too.
And it's like my old song said, I really appreciate y'all helping me out today, and I'll head on now and sing this little song for you. Happy trails to you until we meet again. Happy trails to you. I'm glad Bill Bishop and his helper are my friends. God bless you and have a great day. Where can they reach you on telephone here if they want to call you up?
Yeah. 859-525-1116.
Fantastic. You know where to call if you got a problem. Bring it on in here and let them look at it. They know what they're doing.
There you go.
God bless you and have a great day. Travels with John Stephenson. Watch us on YouTube and Facebook.
Tri-State Gospel, WIOK, Falmouth, Cincinnati. 570 Southern Kentucky Gospel, WIDS, Russell Springs, Jamestown.
There is nothing more aggravating to a bully than when you take your stand. By and large, bullies are cowards. They really are. And when you stand your ground, they will show their true color. When you are standing behind your commander-in-chief, you will make your enemy not only blink, but flee.
Something to always remember, that in life is so important. It is the Holy Spirit's job to convict. It's God's job to judge. And it's my job to love. And tonight, I had a chance to share some love with all the folks that were there and share the love of Jesus. And with the teachers today in Louisville, 1,500 of them at least, to have my Bible there for them to sign in, and my old diary from 1975, for them to sign in, to be able to sing the love song to them that I sang tonight. And also to know my old Kentucky home touches a lot of people's hearts with love. And my other favorite song is one taught to me by George Beverly Shea at the Billy Graham Crusade, where I learned that lesson in 1956 when I gave my life to the Lord. It's the Holy Spirit's job to convict. It's God's job to judge. It's my job to love. And I'd rather have Jesus than silver or gold. I'd rather be His than have riches untold. I'd rather have Jesus than houses or lands. I'd rather be led by His nail-pierced hand than to be the king of a vast domain and be held in sin's dread sway. I'd rather have Jesus than anything this world affords today. This world is not my home, I'm just a passing through. My treasures are laid up somewhere beyond the blues. The angels beckon me from heaven's open door, and I can't feel at home in this world anymore. Oh Lord, you know I have no friend like you. If heaven's not my home, then Lord, what will I do? The angels beckon me from heaven's open door, and I can't feel at home in this world anymore. God bless you, and thank you for listening with me with WIOK 107.5 FM on the radio dial. And thank you to Gil and Jan Hammond for all the teaching hours they put in as teachers, both at Northern Kentucky University, at Simon Kenton High School, and at Beechwood High School. And thank you, Gil, for going on and being Assistant Superintendent of Education in the state of Kentucky and working with the Kentucky Education Association for 30-some years. God bless you both, being my prayer warrior friends, and God bless the radio station. Post Office Box 50, Falmouth, Kentucky, zip code 41040. God bless you all. Sitting here at the courthouse tonight in Independence, my hometown, Taylor Mill and Independence. God bless you all. Are you ready? Are you ready for the Lord? Well, He's knocking on the door, but the doorknob's on the inside. He must wait until you open the door and invite Him into your heart, and then make the U-turn in life. And remember, God loves you. God loves you. And so do I. Have a great evening. It's been a great day. This day, 4/26/22, touched a lot of people with a lot of love. Now I'm going home to my wonderful wife who cares for me, helps me do all of this. None of this could be possible without her, June Guyman Stephenson. And thank her for all the medical treatments and help that she gives me to allow me to be able to go do things like this. And let her know, Lord, help her and her family that are sick and afflicted. Be with all of them, Sylvia and Lonnie. Be with Jim and Kathy, and of course Jim and Rose. And of course Judy and Don, Judy, Lynn, my sister. Be with her. Be with all the family, all the kinfolks. And watch over all of them, including my children, Guy and Amy, Bo and Pam, Bill and Holly, Jeff and Michelle, and all the grandchildren. Be with all of them, and God bless them all. Amen. Travels with John Stephenson, 859-750-0000. Join us on YouTube and Facebook.